The billionaire said she wouldn't impress him, but when she walked in, he was speechless. Sarah Quinn stood at the foot of the grand staircase, her heart thudding like a drum. The Caldwell estate loomed above her, a massive structure of marble and glass, shimmering under the twilight sky. She could almost feel its energy crackle. This was it, the moment that could change everything for her startup. As she walked through the gates, the scent of fresh flowers and expensive cologne wafted through the air, and the flickering candles lining the path seemed to beckon her forward. A voice echoed in her mind. He's not impressed. But she shook it off. Today, she would show billionaire James Caldwell just what she was made of. Inside, the opulence was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers hung like sparkling rain, illuminating the vast space. Guests in tailored suits and elegant gowns mingled, but they all stepped aside for Sarah, their whispers trailing behind her. Who is she? Can she really hold her own? Breathing deeply, she pushed through the throng of glittering laughter. Her stomach twisted with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Her startup, an innovative app aimed at solving a critical issue in the tech world, was her passion and her fight, especially in a male-dominated industry. She had worked tirelessly, and now she stood at the edge of her dreams. When she reached a marble patio overlooking the garden, there he was, James Caldwell. He stood tall and commanding, a scowl etched on his handsome face as he spoke to a group of men in crisp suits. As he turned to see her approach, his expression shifted. Curiosity sparked in his eyes. A thrill ran through her. "Miss Quinn, I presume?" His voice was smooth, yet laced with authority. "Yes," she replied, her voice steady, despite the butterflies dancing in her stomach. "Can a little girl from nowhere impress me?" he teased, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips, his gaze not leaving hers. Her cheeks flushed, but she matched his intensity. "I didn't come here to impress you. I came to show you why you need to listen." Their banter crackled like electricity, every playful jab masking a deeper tension. As she laid out her vision for the startup, she shared her struggles, the countless obstacles she faced. His sharp eyes softened briefly, sympathy flickering before the indifference returned. And just as Sarah felt the weight of the conversation shift, the air thickened. Someone shouted in the background. A hush fell. Gossip began to swirl. She caught a few phrases. His father, saboteur, company at risk. Her heart raced. How did this involve her? The thought wrapped around her chest. James's estranged father was known for pulling strings in the shadows, but why would he target her? A chill crept up her spine. Just as she was starting to bridge their worlds, a scandal loomed, threatening to upend everything she had fought for. As James turned away, a fleeting vulnerability crossed his face. They were now both caught in the eye of a storm, their fates entwined. Sarah took a step back, her mind racing. Would she dare to confront him about it? And more importantly, how would this conspiracy alter her aspirations? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Sarah stood on the marble patio, her breath caught. James had flinched, his brow furrowing as whispers rippled through the crowd like a sudden gust of wind. A woman, impeccably dressed in crimson, stormed through the gathering, her heels clicking with furious precision. The silence grew heavy, the light chatter sucking away into a void. "James," she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. Every eye turned, every head pivoting toward her. Sarah's heart raced. It was like a scene from a dramatic play unfolding before her. "Mom, what are you doing here?" James's voice was low but strained, his facade of cool confidence cracking. The woman was Elizabeth Caldwell, James's mother. Her gaze locked onto Sarah with unyielding intensity. "You're wasting your time with her, James. Or is it an illusion of charity you're after?" A chill swept through Sarah as the words hung heavy in the air. She felt exposed, stripped of her mission. James's jaw tightened, and for a second, the world around them faded. She had entered the lion's den, and now the jaws were closing. "Enough, Mom," he snapped. But there was something deeper in his expression. Fear? Guilt? It flashed there, brief but unmistakable. Elizabeth turned her fury toward the guests. "You all think this sweet girl has something worthy to offer? Wake up! She's a distraction." An undercurrent of tension ran through the crowd, their expressions shifting from amusement to shock. Sarah could feel their eyes, cold and judging. "She's trying to bring something innovative to the table," James defended. But he sounded hollow, like he was convincing himself. "Or she's just another pawn in a game you don't understand." Elizabeth shot back, a venomous edge to her words. Sarah's mind raced, the air shimmering with uncertainty. What game? Why was this woman so determined to undermine her? Was James in on it? The pieces were swirling, forming a pattern she couldn't grasp. The whispers rose again, now more fervent. "Is she really just a distraction? What does she know?" "Stop it," James shouted, his voice slicing through the thick air. "You don't even know her. You're not here to protect me. You're here to control me." His words felt like a dagger, raw and unexpected. The tremor in his voice revealed years of pent-up frustration. Sarah watched as Elizabeth's face hardened, yet behind her steely exterior, a flicker of vulnerability danced. Suddenly, through the intensity, a loud crash echoed from the direction of the ballroom, shattering the tense moment. A window exploded, sending shards of glass scattering like crystal rain across the polished floor. Gasps erupted. "Get down!" someone shouted as chaos erupted, guests ducking for cover. Panic radiated through the room like wildfire. In the chaos, Sarah felt someone grab her arm. It was James, drawing her in close. He shouted over the cacophony, "You have to trust me. I'll explain everything." But before she could process the urgency, Elizabeth's expression shifted to something almost calculating. "You think this changes anything? It only complicates the truth." The layers of their intertwined lives began to peel away, revealing secrets none of them were ready to confront. Sarah's mind spun as she stumbled backward, caught between the furious declarations of a family feud and the frantic chaos around her. A siren wailed in the distance, the first sign of the outside world rushing in. Who had done this? Why? As James held her tightly, she realized the danger was greater than she had imagined. What truth was she standing on the edge of? The night had twisted into something unrecognizable. "James," she breathed, her heart hammering, eyes wide with shock and fear. Would they both escape this storm alive? And what hidden truths would be exposed in the fallout? As James held her tightly, his eyes searched hers, filled with an intensity that both terrified and thrilled her. The chaos of the shattered window had pulled everyone into a frenzy. They ducked, ran, shrieked. The crowd morphed into a whirlwind of panic, pulling Sarah deeper into an uncertainty that gripped her chest. "James," she whispered, her heart racing faster than ever. Each thud echoed in her ears, mingling with the sirens that filled the night air. But before he could respond, another crash broke through the crowd's frantic murmurs. A man rushed out from behind the chaos, his face obscured by a dark mask. Seconds later, he surged toward them. A gleaming object in his hand. A gun. Gasps erupted as his intent became clear. Sarah's world narrowed down to that one moment, the weight of reality crashing over her. "Get down," James shouted again, pulling Sarah down, but not before she caught a glimpse of the masked man's eyes, burning with rage and something else, recognition. Before she could process it, The masked figure pointed the gun, aiming right at James. Her breath caught, freezing in her throat. "Don't!" she screamed, instinct driving her to push James behind her. But then something shifted. Instead of shooting, the man threw down the weapon. The sound was jarring, echoing in the stillness that followed. Whispers rippled through the stunned guests. "James, you don't understand." The man's voice emerged, rough and low. "This isn't how it's supposed to go." James's face paled, eyes wide. "What are you talking about, Marcus? Trust me, I didn't mean for it to go this far." The man was frantic now, his hands raised in a gesture of helplessness. "Get away from him." Elizabeth Caldwell intervened, shielding James. Her voice trembled now, the previous venom replaced with a raw edge. "You have no idea what you're doing. You'll ruin everything." "Everything's already ruined," Marcus shouted back, his voice cracking. "I'm not your son, Elizabeth. You can't keep controlling me." The atmosphere shifted. The guests were no longer just onlookers. Some began to murmur. Others moved closer, intrigued by the unfolding drama. Sarah's heart raced as betrayal flickered between the men. James's world of privilege clashed with Marcus's desperation, and she was left standing in the middle, torn between two sides. "Marcus, stop," James pled, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of fear. Sarah could barely breathe. The truth wrapped around her, suffocating. This wasn't just a business meeting gone wrong. It was a family drama, a feud that had escalated beyond imagination. "What do you mean you're not her son?" she asked, her voice cracking. Before Marcus could respond, Elizabeth stepped forward, her composure reasserting itself. "Enough of this." Her eyes burned with fury. "You want the truth? You want to know why you're really here, Sarah?" Every face turned toward her, bewildered. "What?" A smirk creeping on her lips. "Because you're not just a mere entrepreneur to us. You're the last piece of a puzzle that could destroy everything." "What puzzle?" Sarah's mind raced. A flicker of realization crossed James's face, his expression shifting from concern to horror. "Sarah," he whispered, "what do you know about your father?" Shock pierced through her like a dagger. "My father? He's gone. He disappeared years ago." "Did you ever wonder why?" Elizabeth stepped closer, her words twisting deep into Sarah's heart. "Did you ever think he might have had enemies in this world? And those enemies? They're closer than you think." Panic surged through Sarah, blending with the uncertainty of her past. Everything she thought she knew was shifting, teetering on the brink of a new reality, one filled with fear and betrayal. The sirens blared louder, time was slipping away. "James, what's happening?" she urged, her voice trembling. But just as he opened his mouth, another scream echoed through the estate, drowning everything out, plunging them back into chaos. "Get out!" someone shouted, pushing through the crowd, and in that moment, Sarah realized the weight of the truth waiting to unravel, threatening to expose more than she ever wanted to know. What hidden dangers lay within this family, and how far would they go to protect their secrets? The night had transformed into a labyrinth of confusion, and Sarah felt so lost. Would she find the answers, or would she become a pawn in a game far more dangerous than she imagined? As the chaos swirled around them, Sarah felt her heart race. The sounds of panic mixed with her thoughts, spinning her deeper into confusion. James held onto her tightly, his grip firm but trembling. She wanted to scream, to break free from this whirlwind of surprises. But fear roots you to the spot, doesn't it? "Get down!" someone yelled again, pushing through the crowd. The walls felt like they were closing in, every moment stretching out painfully. She caught glimpses of faces, shock, fear, curiosity. Everyone was waiting, hanging on the edge of this unfolding mess. In the middle of the chaos, Marcus took a step back, his hand still raised. "You don't understand," he shouted at Elizabeth. "This isn't just about you." James's eyes flickered between his mother and Marcus, the tension in the air thick enough to choke on. "What do you mean, Marcus?" he demanded, fear creeping in, twisting every angle of his features. The world seemed to hold its breath, and then, as if the universe couldn't take it any more, a loud explosion ripped through the night. "Look out!" someone screamed, and the ground seemed to shake. Sarah's eyes darted to the scene. A massive figure emerged from the shadows, charging toward them, dressed in black, a weapon held high. In that instant, everything blurred. "James, move!" Without thinking, she pulled him down beside her, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But it was too late. The figure was bearing down, and with a swift motion, they pulled off the mask, revealing a familiar face that sent a shockwave through the crowd. "Ryan?" Sarah gasped. Ryan, her childhood friend, the kid she grew up with in her small town. But why was he here? Why was he pointing a gun at James? "Sarah, I swear, I didn't mean for it to come to this," Ryan shouted, his voice cracking, filled with fear and desperation. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" she echoed, confusion spiraling in her mind. From who? From what? "I can explain. Just listen." Ryan's eyes darted around, panic pulling at his expression. It wasn't just about him. It was about secrets buried deep in the past, secrets that were clawing their way to the surface. Sarah's heart raced as this twist unraveled before her like a dark tapestry. James's face was a mask of disbelief. "You know her?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Ryan nodded, eyes wild. "She doesn't know. None of us knew. Not the truth about her father. Not about our families. Sarah, you're in danger. They want to silence you because you're connected to something more than just a startup." "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled on the edge of realization, fraught with uncertainty. Connected to what? The crowd was restless, whispers crawling through the masses. Is she really who she says she is? What did they do to her? James took a protective step forward. "Get away from her, Ryan. You don't know what you're dragging her into." His voice steeled with a newfound determination. But before any more words could fly, another explosion sounded, this time not from the chaos outside, but from inside the house. A loud crack echoed, drowning out the murmurs. The chandelier shook violently, causing the crowd to gasp in horror, scattering like autumn leaves. "Get out, now," Elizabeth demanded, her calm facade cracking. And as the panic erupted again, Sarah's heart sank further. Her past loomed larger than the chaos around her. Shadows she thought were long gone were creeping back, tightening their grip. What did Ryan know? What right did he have to barge into her life with such a threat? "Sarah," Ryan's voice pierced through the noise, desperate and raw. You're the heir to a legacy that could change everything. And I didn't mean for you to get involved, but it's too late now." The crowd surged toward the exit, pushing and pulling. In that moment of sheer terror, the truth dangled right above her, shimmering just out of reach. "Someone's coming for you, Sarah. We need to go now." His words echoed in her mind, but all she could think about was the mystery. What legacy? What danger? And just like that, the lights flickered out, plunging them into darkness. Sarah felt the world tilt beneath her, and all she could do was hold on to James, who was just as lost, just as confused. Would they uncover the truth together? Or was it already too late? The lights flickered once, twice, then a deep darkness swallowed the estate, choking any flickers of hope. Panic clawed at Sarah as she gripped James's arm, the world around them spinning, chaos blooming in every corner. "James," she called, breathless. His voice cut through the din, sharp and urgent. "Stay close." But as he tugged her toward a staggered exit, the shouts morphed into a swirl, a living thing, hungry and wild. In the back of her mind, Ryan's desperate warning danced like a candle flame in the wind. "You're connected to something more." Her heart echoed with doubt. What could it possibly mean? Time frayed around them, moments twisting into elastic bands of fear and urgency. Then, suddenly, a piercing beam of light cut through the darkness. It swept the crowd, flashes of terrified faces colliding with shadows. The source, a flashlight wielded by a uniformed officer. Relief mixed with dread. Reinforcements were here. But before anyone could react, the officer collapsed, a muffled shout swallowed by the growing panic. Get down, Sarah shrieked, instinctively diving for cover. James followed, pulling her behind a sturdy marble column as gasps filled the air. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. What was happening? A fight? A hostile takeover? The world felt upside down. She risked a glance around the column, eyes darting to Ryan, who still held the gun, but now his face wore confusion instead of anger. I didn't mean to, he yelled into the chaos, his hands shaking. Please, I'm trying to save you. Then, in the depths of tumult, a scream shattered the air, sending a fresh wave of dread coursing through her. Help, help me. A figure in the crowd staggered forward, the flashlight illuminating a crumpled form on the ground. It was Marcus. His shirt, once crisp, stained crimson. No, Marcus. James pushed past Sarah, the protective instinct kicking in over the haze of fear. Stop, she shouted, panic clawing at her throat. You don't know if he's dangerous. But James didn't stop. With fear etched onto his face, he knelt beside Marcus. Ryan hesitated, then reluctantly lowered the weapon. Get back, Elizabeth yelled from the sidelines, her voice slicing through the chaos. You'll only get yourself killed. But that was when everything went dark, once more. Not just the lights, everything. The air thickened. A sound like thunder rolled, and Sarah felt the very ground tremble beneath her. Was it an explosion? James, she cried, her voice lost amidst the rising wave of shock and panic. Then, almost as if scripted, the faintest outline graced the shadows, a cloaked figure. Sarah couldn't make out features, just a dark silhouette emerging from the depths of confusion. Enough, the figure commanded, voice rich and cold, cutting through the chaos like a knife. James, Sarah, it's time you both know the truth. Who are you? James stumbled back, confusion swirling in his eyes. It was her father. Before she could even grasp the weight of his words, the crowd surged again, fear cascading through the onlookers like tidal waves. The figure shifted, shadows cloaking every word. Don't trust anyone, he warned, voice low, yet steady. It's all connected, everything. Marcus, Ryan, James, even me. A gasp echoed through the crowd, whispers racing like wildfire, confusion and fury locking in place. Get down, the officer shouted again, rushing forward. But Sarah's mind raced, swirling in a storm of betrayal and confusion. What had she stumbled into? And what hidden truths lay just beneath the surface? Why are you really here? She demanded, desperate for clarity, desperate for her father to break through this tangled nightmare. But just then, another explosion vibrated the ground, and the crowd erupted into chaos once more. Bodies pressed together, pushing her away, shoving her toward the edge of the unknown. Was this all orchestrated, a game she hadn't asked to play? As the darkness loomed, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She grasped James's hand tightly, feel the electricity between them spark like fire. We need the truth. But in that frenzied moment, the ground shook violently, and the shadows swallowed her scream. And as everything fell apart, one thought echoed in her mind, a question laced with dread. Would she uncover the truth, or would it consume her entirely? The darkness felt like a thick fog, swirling around Sarah as she clung to James. The chaos buzzed in the background, but all she could see was the face of her father, the man she thought lost forever. What do you mean I'm not safe? She demanded, desperation clawing at her throat. Trust me, he said again, urgency swirling in his voice. You have no idea what you're part of. They've been watching you. A muffled explosion echoed in the distance, causing several guests to scream and duck. James grabbed Sarah tighter, both of them seeking refuge against the cool marble of the column. The fear bubbling in her chest felt alive, squeezing her heart like a vice. Everything's connected. Ryan interjected, his grip on the gun wavering. Sarah, your father's not just a ghost from your past, he's... Stop, Sarah interrupted, her voice rising above the panic. What are you trying to say? The confusion gnawed at her. The truth felt so close, yet so far away. like trying to catch smoke with her bare hands. But before Ryan could respond, another explosion grew louder, shaking the very foundations of the estate. The crowd spilled out, people clambering over each other, desperate to find an exit. In their frenzied escape, light flooded back into the room, revealing a stark landscape of shattered glass and terrified faces. And then, it happened, something that turned Sarah's world on its head. A sudden figure emerged from the shadows, stepping confidently into the chaos. It was a woman in a sleek black outfit, holding a device that pulsed with light. With a flick of her wrist, she shut down the chaos, the noise around them fading into eerie silence. "Enough," she commanded. The authority in her voice stilled the room. Everyone froze, eyes locked onto her. "Who the hell are you?" Elizabeth Caldwell spat, her bravado faltering in the face of this unexpected presence. The woman smirked, and for a heart-stopping moment, Sarah thought she recognized her. "I'm the one who keeps the secrets." The world blurred as Sarah's heart thundered. "What secrets?" she demanded, confusion morphing into rage. "What do you know?" Suddenly, the woman's eyes narrowed, locking onto Sarah. "You think your father was just in hiding?" She stepped forward, her presence powerful. "He's not just a missing man. He's a player in a game so much larger than you can imagine." "What game?" James interjected. His voice low but intense. The woman's smile widened, but it wasn't friendly. "You and Sarah are worth more than you'll ever know. You're the edge in a battle that started before either of you were born." A puzzle piece fell into place. The connection between them was deeper than romantic ties or business ventures. Sarah felt her stomach twist. What did she have to do with all of this? What was she a part of? Then the woman turned to Ryan. "You think you're the savior?" The disdain dripped off her words. "You were meant to protect her, but all you did was put her in more danger." "Shut up," Ryan yelled, confusion morphing to anger. "Danger?" Sarah echoed, frantic. "What do you know about danger?" But the woman had already shifted her focus back to Sarah, continuing to dissect her world with a chilling confidence. "You are the key to everything," she said calmly. "The key to power, to a legacy that stretches further than either of you can fathom." "What legacy?" Sarah whispered, the weight of the truth crashing down on her. Everything she had built felt fragile, ready to crumble. Then, from behind the woman, a figure stepped forward, a face familiar, yet startling. It was someone Sarah didn't expect to see. Her mother who had vanished years ago, only to resurface in this moment of chaos. "Sarah," her mother said, stepping closer, her own emotions swirling behind her calm facade. "I had to come back. You need to know who you really are." A gasp escaped Sarah's lips. Shock rooted her to the ground, as everything she thought she knew twisted like a knife in her gut. "Mom?" And just like that, in the midst of the growing storm, the narrative flipped. The whispers of betrayal, legacy, and danger wove through the air. Everything she had fought for hung by a thread, teetering on the brink of a revelation she never saw coming. As Sarah's world spiraled, she realized one horrifying truth. In this twisted game, her choices had been made for her long before she'd ever entered the arena. Would she reclaim her story, or was she already a pawn in a game of chess, played by those who knew her blood? The silence thickened, holding a weight heavy with unanswered questions. Would she confront her parents? Would she uncover the shocking truth behind her legacy? Or would the very people she loved shatter everything she fought for? Sarah stared at her mother, a whirlwind of emotions flooding through her. Shock, anger, disbelief. The night was spiraling further out of control, and now the very ground beneath her felt unstable. "How can you be here?" she whispered, voice trembling. "You disappeared." "I had no choice," her mother said, her own eyes glistening with something deeper. "I thought it was for your own good." Behind them, James stood frozen, caught in the limbo of uncertainty, glancing back and forth between Sarah and her mother. What the hell is going on? His voice trembled, heavy with the weight of betrayal. Sarah, her father interjected, his eyes darting frantically like trapped moths. You need to trust your mother. It's the only way we'll survive this. Survive what? Panic exploded in Sarah's chest. What did you do? The cloaked woman laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. Your family has been playing a dangerous game for years, sweetheart. Your mother knows far more than she cares to admit. The tension hung thick in the air, heavy and suffocating. Everyone else seemed to back away, sensing the gravity of what was unfolding. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, fragments of phrases echoing against the marble walls. Truth, family secrets, danger. In the midst of this chaos, Ryan, still holding the gun, shook his head, confusion morphing into desperation. Sarah, listen to me. There's something they haven't told you. Enough! Her mother snapped, voice fierce, breaking through the static of chaos. You don't understand what you're doing. Ryan, but Ryan's expression transformed, his eyes locking on Sarah with a fierceness that felt like conviction. They won't protect you. I'm trying to keep you safe. That's when it happened. It felt like lightning cracking through the tense atmosphere. A shout erupted from the far side of the room, cutting sharply through the buzz. We need to leave, now. Everyone turned, but just then, the lights flickered violently, and in that instant, another explosion ripped through the estate, shaking the ground beneath them. The crowd screamed, scattering like leaves in a storm, and chaos erupted. Sarah hit the floor, instinct kicking in. She felt James's body press against hers. Stay down, he yelled, panic etching deeper lines in his handsome face. Amid the chaos, Sarah looked up only to see something even more shocking unraveling. The cloaked figure staggered. She ripped off her hood, revealing a face Sarah recognized but hadn't seen in ages. Her aunt, but not just any aunt. This was her Aunt Lily, who had been declared dead years ago in a car accident. Lily? Sarah gasped, feeling her world spin completely off its axis. How? Sarah, listen. Lily's voice cracked, urgency spilling from her lips. Your family is in danger. They're not who you think they are. The room swirled around Sarah. Her mother's expression shifted to one of fury. But beneath that was something else, fear. You shouldn't have come back, she shouted. Why not? Lily shot back, defiance in her tone. She deserves to know. But before anyone could process this revelation, another loud bang echoed through the estate. The front doors crashed open. Armed men flooded in, dressed in dark tactical gear, eyes steely and determined. Get down, one of them barked, raising his weapon. Sarah's heart plummeted. Everything she thought she understood shattered into a million pieces. Lily was alive? What did this mean? And what secrets were unraveling all around her? Secrets that seemed poised to consume them all. Run, James shouted, pulling Sarah to her feet. Fear ignited a fire in her veins as the world blurred into frantic motion. As they darted towards an exit, panic pulsed like an infectious rhythm. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. I thought it was for your own good. But whose good? What had been done in the shadows of her family's legacy? Would she find safety, or would the truth pull her deeper into the storm? The urgency was suffocating, and as they bolted through a side door, the realization hit her like a freight train. They were all tangled in a web of lies, and now the hunters had become the prey. But the scariest question loomed just out of reach. Who could she trust when everything she thought she knew was a lie? Just as Sarah and James barreled toward the exit, the air around them shifted into something heavier, something oppressive. The shouts and chaos seemed to fold in on themselves like an echo of despair. It was then that she heard it, a low, humming sound building in intensity. Run! Don't look back, James urged, gripping her hand tightly. His voice was a lifeline amid the chaos. But just as they reached the door, a bright light flooded the hall, temporarily blinding them. Sarah stumbled, blinked, and tried to peer into the glaring brightness. Get down, someone barked. She barely registered the voice. Her instincts took over. She pulled James to the side just as the ground beneath them trembled again. The stark, blinding light flickered off, revealing a larger figure. It was a man, dressed in a tactical suit, but the face was shocking, recognizable in a horrifying way. It was Patrick, her father's closest associate, the man she thought was loyal to her family. "What are you doing?" "Here," Sarah gasped, her heart racing, confusion surging like a tidal wave. "Sarah, you should never have been here," he yelled over the chaos, eyes wild. "You're in over your head." "Why are you—" she began, but he cut her off. "Listen, you're the key, but they've changed the game," he shouted, urgency dripping from his words. "You're not safe. They'll do anything to control you." "What do you mean?" Desperation lodged in her throat. The truth felt like a jagged knife. Before he could answer, another explosion echoed through the hall, shaking the very foundation of the estate. The ground heaved, patrons screamed, the ceiling rattled, and in that terrible moment, the chaos intensified. Suddenly, as if pulled from thin air, the cloaked woman from before appeared again, her presence commanding and unmistakable. "Enough of this," she declared, silencing a wave of panic in an instant. But it wasn't just any order. This time she held her hand up. A device blinked ominously in her grasp. Sarah had never seen tech like that before. It pulsed with a sinister glow, casting eerie reflections on the faces around her. "Step back, and let me show you the truth," the woman commanded, her eyes glimmering with a fierce determination. "Step back? From what?" James yelled, pulling Sarah closer to him, a protective wall. At that moment, the woman pressed a button, and the device unleashed a blinding surge of light. Sarah shielded her eyes, and then everything went dark again, except this darkness held a different quality. It wasn't just the absence of light, it was like a veil being lifted, revealing a hidden world. As the light pulsed, the room filled with distorted images, faces morphed and shifted, memories echoed, and then, suddenly, Sarah started to hear whispers, fragments of conversations swirling around her. It was a dizzying cacophony, but certain words cut through the noise like a knife. Legacy, power, control. And then, with gut-wrenching clarity, she understood. "Stop," she shouted, heart pounding, terror gripping her as she took a step back. "You can't show me this. You can't." But the images continued. A scene flashed before her eyes. Her mother, laughing beside a man in shadows. Eric Caldwell. The blood in her veins turned to ice. The pieces collided, crashing together until the realization hit her like a freight train. "No. No. Sarah." James's voice quivered, confusion etched across his features. "You can't be serious." But the woman merely smiled, a calculated smirk that sent chills down Sarah's spine. In that moment, everything went silent. The whispers faded into nothing. The air thickened, electric. The truth struck like lightning. The facade of family, safety, love, it all shattered. "Your mother had a plan," the woman said coldly. "And now, she's simply following it. You were just a pawn in her game, a vessel for the legacy." "No," Sarah screamed, shaking her head to fight it off. "No, this can't be true." The world spun around her, chaos erupting once more, but the sensation was different. An empty hollowness echoed within her. James reached for her, desperation in his eyes. "What does she mean, Sarah?" But before she could comprehensively respond, Patrick shouted again, a raw panic in his voice. "We need to go! They're coming for you!" And just like that, the very earth beneath her trembled. She felt the ground shift, and as they all turned toward the exits, the shadows started to converge. The walls closed in, lifting the chilling realization into the forefront of her mind. The game was rigged. She had been a player without knowing the rules. But who was she really? What legacy awaited her? All she knew was danger was closing in fast, and she had to decide, fight or flight. The weight of their unraveling truth pressed against her chest like a boulder as the answer hung painfully in the air. As the last echo of the explosion faded, Sarah's heart raced. She felt the ground quake beneath her, an unsettled rhythm that quickened her pulse. The shadows loomed larger, pressing in with a suffocating weight. She glanced at James, his eyes wide with fear and confusion, mirroring her own. "James, what does she mean?" Panic laced her voice, fingers tight around his wrist. He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, another figure burst through the doorway, cutting through the growing tension. A young woman with striking blue hair and piercing eyes sprang into the room. Her expression was fierce, determined, yet it held a glimmer of unease. "Everyone, listen to me," she shouted. The crowd momentarily silenced. "Get out while you can." The moment hung heavy in the air. The cloaked woman's eyes narrowed, her calm facade slipping for the first time. "Leela, you shouldn't be here," the woman spat, panic flooding her voice. "Do you think I'd let you do this alone?" Leela responded, her voice steady despite the chaos. "This is not just about Sarah anymore." "What do you mean?" Sarah's stomach tightened. Her world spun as threads of uncertainty intertwined with every word. But Leela didn't respond. Instead, she moved closer to Sarah. "You need to trust me. I've been looking for you. I didn't know you were involved in this." "Looking for me?" Sarah's breathing quickened, desperation tightening her throat. "Yes, there's so much you don't know. You have to believe me." Lila's intensity pierced the chaos around them, like a beacon cutting through the fog. Before Sarah could respond, Marcus, weak and shaken, tried to stand. "Lila, you shouldn't be here. They'll find you." At the mention of they, the room erupted again as a chorus of urgent whispers washed over them. The crowd began to shift and murmur, fear rippling through the guests like a live wire. Then the cloaked woman stepped back, her expression a mixture of fury and disbelief. "You think this changes anything? You've only put yourselves in greater danger." "Danger? What do you know about danger?" Lila shot back, her voice rich with conviction. But in that moment, the air thickened, heavy with secrets unspoken. Sarah felt a wave of disorientation wash over her. She had only just begun to peel back the layers of her family, and now, this. Suddenly Leela turned, her eyes wide with alarm. "It's coming," she yelled, adrenaline coursing through her. "What is?" James demanded, his voice rising above the commotion. But before anyone could brace themselves, the cloaked woman pulled out a small device, her finger hovering over a button. "You think you can just leave? Let's test how much you really know." Panic surged, and Sarah felt her breath catch. "No, don't." Time slowed as the woman's finger pressed down. A flash of blinding light erupted, illuminating the faces that had been hidden in darkness. Sarah's heart almost stopped as she caught sight of someone, suspended in the light. It was her mother, hovering, eyes wide with terror. "Sarah, no!" Her voice cut through the chaos, a haunting melody. The shock hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. "Mom?" It felt impossible. And then the truth shattered her heart. Her mother wasn't just in danger. She was a prisoner in this twisted game. The room fell silent. Every face turned toward her, expressions shifting from fear to disbelief. "The truth is," Lila said quietly, "your mother is the one pulling the strings. You've always been part of her plans." "What?" That one word echoed, reverberating through Sarah's mind as everything she believed crumbled. The cloaked woman nodded, with grim satisfaction. "Your mother orchestrated all of this, Sarah. You were never just the key. You were the prize." Her heart sank, confusion swirling into despair. Did she even know her family? Were they puppets hidden in a play that had been scripted long before she ever entered the scene? The crowd began to murmur, the reality sinking in like an anchor, pulling Sarah down. James looked at her, raw vulnerability in his eyes. "Is this true? What's happening?" She managed to choke out, the shifting sands of her world collapsing around her, leaving her flailing in the darkness. And just then, from the shadows, another figure emerged, her father. "Sarah, you need to listen to me," he shouted, desperation painting every line on his face, but there was something different about him. As he stepped forward, the air crackled with an intensity she'd never felt before. His eyes flickered with a truth that could split her family apart. "You don't know what's at stake. None of you do." The question hung in the air, charged with the weight of every unspoken truth. Would he finally reveal everything, or was this just the beginning of a tangled web that would forever alter their lives? As the world around her blurred, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her once again. Would she survive the truth when everything she believed was a lie? Everything around Sarah felt like it was shattering. The blinding light faded, leaving behind confusion and fear weaving tight around her heart. Her mother stood there, the tension etched on her face, revealing secrets tangled in threads of betrayal. "Mom!" Sarah cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. "You orchestrated this." "I did what I had to, Sarah," her mother shot back, eyes fierce. "I protected you from them." Protected me, or trapped me? Each word felt like a dagger to her heart. Nothing made sense anymore, and the weight of family ties felt like a noose tightening around her neck. James glanced back at her, his expression a mix of pain and disbelief. "We need to get out of here." But the cloaked woman, once commanding, now seemed vulnerable as Lila stepped forward, fierce determination igniting her demeanor. "You all need to listen. It's not just your family at stake. Lives hang in balance." At that moment, Patrick shoved his way through the chaos. "Enough of this." His voice was gravelly, radiating a sense of urgency. "We don't have time to fight amongst ourselves. They're closing in." Sarah felt the ground shake again, a reminder that danger was no longer a distant specter. "Then tell me the truth," she demanded, breathless, heart racing. "What's really going on?" As the walls of the estate echoed with mounting chaos, her father's voice broke through the din. "It's all connected, Sarah. Your past, the corporate wars, Lila, everything is a result of choices we made long ago." "Tell me," she urged, anger and fear blending in her chest like an explosive force. "Fine." He spat, frustration palpable. "You were born into power and legacy, Sarah. We, your mother and I, thought we could shield you from it. But they'll come for you. They won't stop until they get what they want." Suddenly, a loud crash rang out from behind the crowd, shattering the remaining calm. Officers swarmed into the space, taking charge and shouting orders. Panic erupted anew as people scrambled toward the exits. "Now," James urged, taking Sarah's hand and pulling her along. She stumbled but fought to keep up, breaking through the chaos with her heart pounding. Leela rushed beside them, eyes sharp and focused. "Follow me," she shouted, leading them through a side door, their only escape from the madness. As they burst outside, the cool night air hit them like a shockwave. Sarah felt a clear sense of urgency, the weight of her chaotic family history, and the power they wielded surfacing like a tidal wave. But just as they reached a secluded area, her mother called after her, desperation tinging her voice. "Sarah, please, we can find a way out of this together." "Together?" Sarah's voice cracked, a mix of betrayal flooding her system. "You've put me in danger. You don't get to just say you care now." Tears threatened to spill, but she swallowed them back. This was the moment she'd been waiting for, the chance to reclaim her story. The darkness that had shadowed her didn't own her anymore. "Sarah!" James's voice pulled her back. She locked eyes with him and found the steady reassurance she needed. Together they faced the storm. "We can't back down," he said, firm and resolute. She nodded, determination flooding back. Lila stepped forward. "If we fight back now, we can turn this legacy into something of our own. We can rewrite our stories, but we need to be united in this." A surge of hope flickered as Sarah glanced at her friends, her family, the people she never knew would matter so much. "Then let's do it," she declared, her voice stronger than she felt. As they hurried toward the horizon, she felt her heart soar. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. They were standing up for everything that had been taken from them. And as the first rays of dawn broke across the sky, illuminating their path, Sarah knew she was finally free. But this fight was only beginning. and she would be ready. Now, this is your moment. If you want to know what happens next, you have to subscribe right now so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help this adventure reach more amazing fans. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Let's hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support means everything, and together we'll uncover more thrilling tales.